Hello. In this video, we would like to present to you our project on the topic the novel method of two-dimensional geometric morphometric analysis on frontal sinus for sex estimation in forensic anthropology. This is Bob, a construction worker. In February 2022, somewhere in Kallang village, Bob and other workers were digging a hole at the construction site and suddenly spotted a pile of human skeletons.
Alarmed, Bob immediately called the police. The police immediately came. All the construction works were temporarily stopped, and all the workers were sent home after some questioning. Later, Bob saw on the news that the bones belonged to 33-year-old male that was reported missing last year. Kudos to forensic anthropology team. But Bob wondered, what is forensic anthropology, and how does it help to establish the identity of the skeletons? Generally, forensic anthropology is a special subfield of physical anthropology that involve applying skeletal analysis to solve criminal cases. The forensic anthropologist will establish the biological profiles that are able to tell us the sex, age, stature, and even ethnicity of the deceased. Today, we focus on the method to identify the sex of the deceased, using new method in forensic anthropology. Currently there are three main research gaps of forensic anthropology investigation in Malaysia. First is disadvantages of conventional method. Calipers is traditionally used to estimate size of bones by measuring the linear distance such as length, height and width of the bone. This is time-consuming, has poor reliability, high standard of error, as well as limitation on shape visualization. Second, limited frontal sinus database. Other bone structures such as skull and long bone database are readily available. However, these bones that are commonly used for identification are often damaged in recovered skeletal remains and may not be suitable for sex estimation, thus, creating a need to look for another alternative such as frontal sinus. Frontal sinus has strong resistance to trauma, which make it well preserved in mass disasters. However, unlike the skull and long bones, the database of frontal sinus is not available. Third, limited Malaysian database. Unlike skull bone, the usage of frontal sinus for developing biological profiles in Malaysia is not available. And the study of frontal sinus morphology among Malaysian is not yet present so far. So in summary, the inaccuracy of conventional linear measurement, lack of frontal sinus databases, and limited Malaysian database, makes it difficult for investigators to build an accurate biological profile for Malaysians. This is where we come in. A group of researchers from various universities such as UITM, USAM, and USM, decided to develop a novel technique to evaluate frontal sinus within sex groups among Malaysia population. That technique is called 2D geometric morphometric. This technique has been published, accepted under first revision for publication. It also has been presented in 2 conferences in 2022 and published as a conference preceding paper. This technique has won a gold award in an innovation competition IMIC 2022. Intellectual property has also been approved by Bitcom. So now, let's talk about 2D geometric morphometric method, and how it works. How do we turn a frontal sinus imaging into a biological profile that allow us to estimate sex of the unknown deceased? Every day, there will be patient coming to the hospital for a skull x-ray for all sort of medical reasons, hence producing a lot of skull radiographs that could be used as 2D model source for the analysis. Using the existing radiographs that the hospital currently has, we retrieve 453 of lateral skull radiographs and apply 8 landmarks on the anatomical structure of frontal sinus using TPS-DIG2 software. Then, the data were input into the MORPHO-J software for geometric morphometric analysis. Now for the result, Procrustes ANOVA showed significant differences in the shape and size of frontal sinus between males and females. And the DFA demonstrated classification accuracy of 80.6% after cross-validation. This is to show the morphological differences of frontal sinus between males and females using 2D geometric morphometric method, in which the male's frontal sinus tend to appear in wider shape than the female's. So, to conclude, the results of significance and high classification accuracy suggest that geometric morphometric method is a reliable method for sex estimation on frontal sinus. So now, we have a high chance of estimating a person's sex just by using frontal sinus data. Practically, whenever the forensic anthropologist discovered skeletal remains, they can x-ray the frontal sinus of the deceased to get a 2D model of the bone, which is radiograph. Then, perform 2D geometric morphometric by applying 8 landmarks, and analyze its morphology using MORPHO-J software, and compare the findings with the existing database, which then allow us to estimate the sexes of the deceased. We hope that 2D geometric morphometric will be an invaluable tool for sex estimation in future forensic investigation. 2D geometric morphometric of frontal sinus, a new breakthrough in our forensic anthropology. Thank you.